And I recently found, so we're going to talk about internal Israeli elections now. Recently found a great website, israelipolicyforum.org/120. I'll also put it in the chat. It was the resource I wanted that didn't exist yet or wasn't like up to date enough. So this is the website. It tells you this is the current, the outgoing Knesset. Again, Knesset is Israeli parliament. There are 120 seats in total, and then it tells you who are the major parties running right now. And so, like, if you want, we won't go through it now. And there are some things here I slightly disagree with. I think Beyachad, like, it's out of date. Saying it says, for example, Beyachad is the most significant new political development of the 2026 election cycle. I disagree. I think that Yashar is the most significant development. Also, like in terms of where they should be, this out of date. Yashar should be number 2 after Likud. Okay, so we have the different parties, if you're interested in reading about them. And also, they made this handy note of Israel's political parties, from left wing to right wing, and also which coalition they belong to. And so you have, these are the Arab parties, so they don't belong to either coalition, i.e., they're not going to be part of the government unless major reforms happen. There is a Jew trying to work together with Ram to make them a more like palatable party, but they are Islamists. Like Ram is Muslim Brotherhood, so they do talk about Israeli Arab communal interests, but from a Muslim Brotherhood perspective, which is we're peaceful until we're not. So I really hope they're not part of the next government. And then you have the Democrats, which is the only real left-wing party in Israel. So social democracy, liberal Zionism, Yashar, which is like center to, they're trying to be center, arguably center-left. That's the largest opposition party at the moment. Then you have Together, Naftali Bennett, Israel Beitenu. Now, these two are right-wing parties. And in fact, they're more right-wing than these two parties. The reason they're put here is because they're staunchly part of the anti-Netanyahu opposition. So the question is that website mainly for external consumption? Yes, this is a website, and it's only in English. It's meant to get people to understand what Israeli politics is like. So the reason these two are put here, like these two are way more hawkish, way more right wing than these two. But the reason they're put here is that these two are explicitly part of the anti-Netanyahu bloc. They want to form a government without Netanyahu, and these two are part of the unity bloc. And there's one more party that's part of the unity bloc that's not here, which is the new party called Unity. Eventually, what's probably going to happen is that these two parties and the Unity Party are going to join forces in becoming one unity party that's going to force a unity government. It's going to have roughly 8 seats, would be my guess. 8 to 10, let's say. And then you have, these are anti-Zionists. They're the Ashkenazi ultra-Orthodox party. These are the Sephardi ultra-Orthodox party. The problems with them is that they extort the coalition into allowing ultra-Orthodox to skip the draft. Then you have Likud, which is the center. It's no longer center right. It's like a right-wing party. This would be like center right. Although it depends on what, because on some things it's more hawkish than Likud. But this would be like the default right-wing party. And then you have Smotrich, which is the sectarian party for the religious Zionists. And you have Otzma Yehudit, which is the ultra-nationalist party. And right now, this is your coalition: the ultra-Orthodox, Likud, Smotrich, and Otzma Yehudit. And their website also has polling, and I appreciate that they have like the mainstream polls, which all like agree. Then you have the right-leaning polls, and Zman Israel, I'm not sure exactly what their methodology is, but they seem to be roughly the same as most pollsters. The right-wing polling, like you can see, there's a difference here. So we have national unity. Right now, it's not getting past the threshold. Zionist Home is just barely getting past the threshold, depending on where. Again, Zionist Home. This is a different face, but it's this party. Okay. And so they're not getting past the threshold alone, or they're barely getting past the threshold. So only UJ Becker is saying only near correct polls were in RC14. That's I-24 and C14 are the same polls. And that's why I like having them here. You can see the main difference is that most pollsters give Bennett 8 seats that this pollster gives to Netanyahu. And that's 8 seats crossing, going across the aisle to the coalition. And you see that because of that, they're almost at the point where they can form a coalition, whereas they're way underwater according to the other pollsters. Now, it's important to opposition doesn't mean that the opposition can form a coalition. These have 10 seats that are the Arab parties that are not going to be part of any coalition. And then you have the unaffiliated. Unaffiliated would be presumably like Zionist Home, National Unity, and so on. Oh, this is interesting. Hadash Tal is getting 8 seats here. But that's that's an outlier. I've never seen Hadash Tal get this far. Hadash Tal is the non-Islamic, like the Palestinian National Identity Party, basically. So this is the poll from the 6th of August. So someone's saying last Channel 14 poll gave Likud 33 seats. It's just a few. It's just a few days behind. Is the issue, but it's the same pollster. It's what's it called? It's the Philbill company. So it's the same pollsters. Okay. Any questions so far? I hope this is understandable. So Sean is asking, wait, you have 2 ultra-Orthodox parties? I thought Sephardic were more normal. They are, but in terms of the draft, they're actually, a lot of the voters are arguably abandoning them because of this. Why the F do Palestinians get a national party in Israel? It's so dumb. So they're not officially an Arab, a nationalist party for Palestinians, but essentially they are. And also, Israel is a democracy, and it's a pretty wide democracy. So if we allow Ben-Gvir, and we allow something that fundamentally goes against Israel. Okay, let's see. People are talking about, it's a different topic, but the budget in America. I'll very briefly say that I think Trump is making a lot of good moves in terms of getting more income to offset the debt without making unpopular policy decisions. Maybe he'll make the unpopular policy decisions at the end of the term, but other than making the unpopular policy decisions, he's actually playing it pretty well. And I didn't used to think this. Okay. And so here you see again, the blocks are inaccurate because you have to subtract 10 from the opposition always. But essentially, you see that none of the parties have or no side has a coalition. So they have this interactive coalition builder. And so let's use the average and use the Democrats. Like this would be what the let's see if I didn't miss anything. Yeah, I didn't miss anything. So this would be the opposition coalition. They're not going to have these guys, and they're not going to have they're probably not going to have these guys. They don't get to 60 seats. Okay. Just as an averaging of the polls, which actually I think where it's going to go. I think Philbert is over. So the right wing pollster is overestimating the support for the coalition. But the other channels, I agree, are underestimating them. The right wing. So a guy Ben-Gvir is pro-Israel. I'm not sure when I said it wasn't. Okay, so that's the opposition, but then the coalition is these parties, and no party is going to cross the aisle unless forced to. And neither side, as you can see, neither side has the 60 seats. And so what I've predicted is going to happen is that the three parties that we have here are going to be forced to join forces. They have some differences between them, but essentially they are going to have to join forces to make sure that they get past the threshold, and then there's really no coalition to any other side. And so they have to join forces, and so essentially what the coalition is going to be is these parties that are not in the interactive map. Okay, so let's go back here. They're not here, but essentially it's going to be this plus a few extra seats that presumably will come from these parties. So that's roughly what the coalition is going to be. It's going to be these parties, Likud, Israel Beitenu, together, Yashar, and the Unity Party. So essentially, it's going to be like this, and from here, rightward. And I think that's an excellent coalition. It will be able to solve a lot of things. So Tor is asking who I'm voting for. Right now, if you ask me, I'm going to vote for the party that's not here, the Erdan Edelstein party, the party called Unity, called Achdut. But right now, it seems to be well underwater in terms of the threshold of 4 seats. And so eventually, I'm going to vote for the proper party that's formed in this block. And I'm really happy that this is going to form because I saw a very disturbing allegation, we'll say, in Haaretz, that he's essentially preparing to form a minority government, hoping to expand it after it's sworn in. So he wants to form a minority government with outside support by the is going to form a unity government with support from the Arab parties, and then hope to expand it after it's sworn in. And this is not something. This is going to be horrible. Like he wants the one of the parties he wants joining in is Shas, is the ultra-Orthodox Sephardic party. That's terrible. That's a horrible coalition. That's the worst coalition I can think of. But if the Unity Party forms, then he's not going to be able to do that. He's not going to, even with the outside support, he's not going to have enough.